start a little slideshow. All right. Well, let me just start by saying that everything that we do in the Robert W. Jurgensen program is real. We don't fake anything. And the anchor behind what we do are these two businesses, Jurgensen's Market and the Earwig Cafe. And you're seeing a little glimpse of both of them here. So Jurgensen's Market is named after Robert W. Jurgensen. He was the first entrepreneurship teacher at Dunn way back in the 1970s. And one of his students, Michael Boone, who went on to invent the whiteboard and also the men's shaving line, Cremo products, endowed this program and asked us to expand it in his honor. So we're proud to do that. And Jurgensen's Market is a self-service cafe. And just like everything that we do in the Jurgensen program, students helped us design it and create it. And one of their big pushes was to make a self-service checkout system. So this cafe is open to boarders as long as the building's open. And it's been quite a popular little market. And then you see Kelton here is stacking Nesquik in our merchandiser. Nesquik is actually one of our top sellers. And just out of curiosity, we've sold $900 worth of Nesquik so far this year, coming out of Jurgensen's Market. So once you go behind the window and connect to the Earwig Cafe, you see Harry Styles is working with us in the cafe here. This is where the kids really get to be creative. So you see a couple students here making milkshakes. Our milkshakes are amazing. We'll put any kind of candy that you want in those milkshakes. I had a student once put protein powder and a Builder bar in a milkshake before he went for a workout. So we'll do anything. The kids have a one-touch espresso machine that'll make Americanas and lattes and cappuccinos, and it's like you're at Starbucks. There's also air fryers that will cook French fries and chicken nuggets. So if you don't like what's at the dining hall, you can come to the Earwig Cafe. But kids always like what's at the dining hall here. So we mostly sell milkshakes. One of the things that we sell in the cafe is our very own product, and I'm drinking it here myself. We do everything real, just like I said, and one of the things that we do is product development. So the students actually created their own brand of kombucha. And I'm going to turn it over to Flory for a little bit. Flory's in our Jurgensen's Toolkit class, and she can tell you a little bit about the kombucha project.
Yeah, hi. So we first started making our kombucha with a tour in the factory where our kombucha is actually produced. That was really, really interesting to see how it's made with everything. And after that, we started product development. How do we want to mix our kombucha flavors? So that means what flavor could people attract and who do we even want to attract? So we first started with looking at our customer archetype, which is basically saying who are we going to target. There's one that's the lover, the jester, the I don't know, so many other, the explorer, and every one of those archetypes might want a different flavor of kombucha. So after choosing that, we split into teams and started experimenting with the flavors. So we mixed our own kombucha in class and just started adding 1 drop of mango extract and then 2, and then that was too much. So we experimented a lot with that. That was really, really fun until we had our final product and we sent the recipe to the factory. And while that kombucha was in the making, we split up again. And in our group, we split up. One part was doing the labels for the kombucha, and the other one was making commercials. I did the label, which was amazing. I love experimenting with Canva. We used Canva. That's a platform where you can design different things. And it was just super fun to experiment with the colors, with the fonts. How do we want it to look? Is it clean? Should we make it lovely, bright colors, neutral colors? And the other group in my group made the commercial, which was really good too. And yeah, then today I was sitting in class and Mr. Stacy comes in with a whole stack of the kombuchas and we tasted them and they were amazing. So having my own product in my hand feels just great. And I think it's such a cool experience.
Yeah, thank you so much, Flora. That was excellent.
Sure.
All right, I'll get back to sharing here. So as Flori mentioned, we took the kids to a kombucha tasting. This is actually a kombucha bar. There aren't too many of these, but there happened to be one about 20 miles away. So a woman named Piper, who's a small business person herself and an entrepreneur, gave us a tour of her facility and then let us taste all kinds of different kombucha flavors. And this kind of helped the kids see what the potential for this product was, but also got them to engage with a small business person and hear her personal story. Here we are at the factory tour. That's Freddie. He was kind of the factory manager, and he was telling the kids actually the process and how it gets made. And one of the neat things is this project actually involves some math and science where the kids had to convert their recipes, which were done on a very small scale, into these huge batch recipes that ended up being concocted in these big vats. So it was quite a process. And here you're seeing Flori and her team trying to figure out what flavors they want in their kombucha. And then to the right, you see Flori's, her design for the logo. Flori, do you want to unmute and tell us a little bit about him?
Yes, so him, if you don't know, that's kind of an inside joke between teenagers right now. And it says, so our group targeted the ruler. A ruler is a person very powerful, doesn't like failure, seeks success. And there's this thing going on social media that's called him, where it's a person, it could be anybody that is just super powerful, successful, and just a good person you want to be. So we thought it would be funny it would be useful, since our target audience is mostly the students in the school, to name it him. And we wanted to keep it really simple. So you can see it's kind of split in two parts. One is the information and one is just the label. It's very clean, the color's neutral. On the left side, we also have a little sticker of the him logo, a description of our class, the Dun logo. There's a QR code to our commercial, and the barcode, of course, to scan it in a cafe. And yeah, I have to say, that was one of my favorite parts of the whole project, designing the label.
Yeah, and just to let you know how seriously kids take these projects, because they are real world relevant projects. We had spent about 2 hours taste testing and mixing various chemicals together to kind of create the kombucha. And I looked at Flori's group and they had this look on their face like, we're not done yet. Like, we don't have it, you know? And I said, well, get back to the drawing board. I mean, you guys got to get this figured out. So I think what we find is when we put real relevant projects in front of kids, they really take it seriously. They're super motivated to succeed. And we saw that in this project, and we see it in many of the projects in the Jurgensen program. All right, next we're going to see a video from one of the other groups. This is called Killer Kombucha.
killer kombucha. Your killer kombucha. Your killer kombucha.
So super creative. We always try to get the kids to realize that creativity is a big part of entrepreneurship, and they always come through, whether it's those labels or the marketing videos. You never stop smiling when you're working with these kids. Oops. Okay, so behind all the nice pictures and the fun stories and the marketing videos, there is a real solid curriculum here. I started my career at Ernst & Young. I'm a certified public accountant, and I've been a chief financial officer for 20 years. So I have a really solid background in income statements, balance sheets, and running a business. I also started my own business when I was 19, started investing money when I was 13. And then later in my career, I went to graduate school at Vanderbilt, which is the top graduate school in the nation for education. And I really dug into building this curriculum. And so this is my Vanderbilt education on a one slide. I think any parents in the room are looking at that center section with the 21st century job skills, and they're probably nodding up and down. Yes, I want my kids to be creative. I want them to be critical thinkers. I want them to problem solve. I want them to be great teammates. Emotional intelligence is so important for leadership. So these 21st century job skills were taken from the World Economic Forum. Literally, what are employers looking for in our children? And so I am trying to work these into every project I do very, very intentionally. We then sort of wrap it up in the problem, solution, and project service learning framework. And that's all about relevance, and it's all about making the projects exciting to students. Not just any project will do, it has to be a project that the kids really, really want to do. And then they'll be motivated to work very, very hard. And then on sort of the East and the West, you have academic press. Often people will talk about rigor. How rigorous is your program? Well, we press these kids really hard, but because we care and support them, and because we scaffold it so well, that they always step up and they don't feel overwhelmed. So on a project that Matthew's going to be talking about a little later, I mean, in a period of about 3 weeks, they go from knowing nothing on a topic to presenting in front of a professional investor in that space. And so it's a very rigorous process, but I think it happens with great support and great scaffolding. And the very last thing, and I really do think this is the key, is we try to make every assessment very high stakes. So I think you're probably getting the picture that we're not giving tests, we're not giving quizzes. This is not your traditional packet-based school program. These are all big projects, real projects. And a high stakes assessment is when you're doing a presentation in front of very important, very smart people. And so presentations in front of your classmates, I've seen that you get about 65 to 70% of good. Presentations in front of professionals, they go 100, 110%. So we always have them present to us first, give a lot of feedback in a dress rehearsal, and then edit, and then do a high stakes assessment at the end. And Matthew can talk to you a little bit about that process when we went through the Ironwood project. But this is sort of the secret sauce behind, but most of this stuff is invisible to the kids. We're just doing fun projects. So I'm going to unshare, and then Matthew, do you want to share your story about the Ironwood project?
Yeah, absolutely. Where do I start with this? So Mr. Stacy brought us in contact with two alumni, John and Alex, who run a business in which called Ironwood Hospitality, where they take operationally distressed hotels in the Western United States. They purchase them and then they basically remodel them, improve the operations, and extract value in that manner. So we were brought in as like an actual team of analysts for Ironwood. We had to sign NDAs, and we were really working with them in a legitimate fashion to research hotels and to basically, we were split into 4 groups, and we were going to come back to Ironwood in about 3 weeks with 4 properties in which we think they could invest in. So my group, we chose the Farmhouse Motel and rebranded it into the Buellton Inn, which is this place off the 101 in California, just about 10 minutes from where we're located in Los Olivos. And I got in contact with 2 real estate agents. Me and Mr. Stacy went to the property. We toured. Our group went from pitching it as a remodel and revamping the operations to realizing once we saw the hotel in person that this was pretty much a complete teardown. And we had to pivot last second to talking about, okay, so how do we take the 1.6 acres of lands here? How do we develop it to its full potential? What is the refinance timeline? What does the debt servicing look like? And it was just this amazing learning experience in which, like, I really got to participate in the real world with real people, real realtors and real investors. And when we pitched, we gave them what we thought would be their best bet of making use of this property. Did I miss anything?
No, that was excellent, Matthew. Thank you. Yeah, and Flory was also in that project as well. And you can feel free to unmute and give your feelings as well, Flory.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned so much through that project, especially like Mr. Stacy just said, with the high stakes. When you have someone from outside of the school, something real, something professional, then you just work 10 times harder. But it's not a work kind of thing. It's more as a group, we meet, it's fun, we might get lunch, we talk about it. And it was tough, and it was a lot of new things that I've learned, but I learned those new things and it was really fun and just real. And that makes a difference.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. And what I love so much about the professionals that we partner with is they're not pandering at all to high school kids. They, like Matthew said, we were actually trying to find them the next property to buy. And so they were asking tough questions, real questions. They were sharing their stories in the industry. And I felt like it felt almost like a peer-to-peer conversation. And that's amazing for 3 weeks of digging into a project. So here's just a few visuals to kind of go with what Matthew and Flory were talking about. This was Matthew's opening slide for the Gateway to the Santa Ynez Valley Buellton Inn. And of course, they created that logo. Here's another logo from one of the groups, the Grand Canyon Inn for the Explorer. So Flory mentioned that customer archetypes. So in any of the business projects we're doing, we're always trying to find what's the niche customer that you're trying to serve. And this group chose the Explorer. So all of their logos and messaging were around exploring the Grand Canyon. Here's just some of the insight that group brought, some of the metrics that they had to dig into, some of the rooms in the hotel. And I felt like the kids really enjoyed the hotel element to this. Everybody stayed in hotels, everybody likes hotels. And so trying to find a hotel that met Ironwood's requirements was a real blast. Another group rebranded their hotel near Lake Powell as the Powell Plunge and designed this logo. And then here we are at the high stakes assessment. In the foreground there, you have Alex and John. They're taking notes, they're asking tough questions, and you've got Flory there and her team presenting on the Ocean Shores Resort. And then of course, if I haven't mentioned this before, Michael Boone donated a lot of money to the school when he supercharged this program. So every once in a while I pull out my credit card and I buy him a real nice dinner at the end of a big project as well. So what happens at the end of the Jurgensen program? How does it all work? So here you've got our revenues through the history of my history with the program. And you can see we're steadily improving our results every year. We had a little blip during COVID, but so far this year through February, we're over $40,000 in revenue. So very likely that this is our best year ever, could possibly be a $60,000 a year. Now, where do those monies go? Is it just going into the Dunn slush fund? Heck no. So in classic Jurgensen style, we take the net income from the market and we give it back to the kids to invest it in an endowment account. So we have $285,000 in that endowment account right now, over 75 positions that the students have all purchased through deep, detailed financial analysis. We haven't gotten into that yet, so I can't call on Matthew or Flory to talk about it, but that's going to be one of their culminating projects. Some of our students have gone to some of the best business schools in the country, Babson, USC Marshall, Northeastern. And some of them have left and started their own businesses. We had a young alum that's already created and sold his first business. Another is taken over a real estate development company. We've got a young YouTuber with over 150,000 subscribers. And then of course, the $1 million benefactor who's sitting over here on my shoulder saying, hey, what do you need? What do you need? And we're making it all work. So what's it going to look like for you when you come to Dunn and join the Jurgensen program? I'd like to spend a few minutes on that. So in 9th or 10th grade, our entry-level course is called Jurgensen's Toolkit. And that's a prerequisite for any of the other courses that we're going to have that you're going to see later. And the toolkit really is handing us the baseline tools of what it is to study business and to be an entrepreneur. So some of the projects that we do in there are we interview entrepreneurs. We study the entrepreneur's mindset. We do a Shark Tank style quick entrepreneurship lesson. And then also these are the kids that are actually running the market in the Earache Cafe. So they're learning how to be entrepreneurs by doing it themselves. So that's what happens in your 9th or 10th grade year. It's a full year course. We actually have 3 instructors because we get a huge turnout for this course. And we like to cycle the kids through, they sort of cycle through the market in thirds. So we find that works the best because of the space of the market and the teaming that we're really looking for. Once you get to the next level, we're now talking 10th or 11th grade, you can choose between 4 courses to take. One's entrepreneurship and product design and development. So similar to the Kombucha project, that's going to be creating your own business, creating your own products and taking it the whole way to have a product on the shelves. And so that's what we're going to be doing in that course. Marketing and business strategy. Kids really get marketing. They really like marketing. They've been marketed to since they were little babies. And so they're excellent, particularly when it comes to the digital media marketing that is sort of driving the business these days. So this is going to be a very, very popular course that we're creating. Philosophy and the study of status. So the donor, Mike Boone, was a big, big believer in if you're going to create people, if you're going to create capitalists, they have to study philosophy. They have to be able to answer why. Why are we doing this? Why is it important? How do we give back? And so philosophy and the study of status is actually taught by our head of school, Callian Balavan. It's one of our most popular courses, and it really digs into those issues. And then the last course at the mid-level is investing in philanthropy. And that's the course that Matthew and Flory described a little bit. That's the one where we did the hospitality, the hotel investing project. And that will be the one where they invest the market's profits in the stock market. And then sort of our senior level courses are sort of back to basics with micro and macro economics. And the reason that we lump these into the Jurgensen program is because to get into the best business schools, that's what the colleges are looking for. So if you come out with micro and macro and 4s and 5s on your AP test and this basket of amazing courses, your essays are going to be amazing. Your college placement is going to be amazing. And so that's why we've structured these courses in this way. I think it's Q&A time, guys.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Flory. That was super informative. And thank you for doing that So I'd like to open up the floor for any questions that anyone on this call might have. Feel free to use the Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen, or throw it into chat. And then Chad, if you just want to stop with your share screen, and we'll get you guys on the screen there. We had one or two, or a couple of questions actually that came through from families, and I'll start with this one. What are some examples of how Dunn supports students with their own independent business ideas? I think you touched on this a little bit, but if you can dive a little bit deeper into it. The parent who sent this asked specifically online businesses, but if you can talk to both, how you encourage students with their own ideas.
Right. So I think the young YouTuber is a perfect example. So he took the predecessor to this program, which used to be called Earrig Incorporated. He took that as a freshman, and in his freshman year, sort of inspired by the program, is when he started his YouTube channel. Has continued it for 4, 5, 6 years and has grown to the point where it is now. He's in fact making a decent middle income salary right now off his YouTube channel. We have another current student who started his own clothing line, Quasar. It's a car themed clothing line. He's really into design, and he does excellent work around classic cars. And so we're constantly brainstorming with our students about their current business ideas.
Yeah. Thank you, Chad. And then I had a question that is directed more towards the students. So Matthew and Flory, if you guys can touch on this. From what you've learned in this course, what do you feel like are the most useful skills that you would take with you into the future, whether it be college or business, real world? Yeah, Matthew, maybe if you want to start, and then we'll go to Flory.
Yeah. So Mr. Stacy didn't touch on this, but the first project we did in the investing class was through Wharton at UPenn, and we did an investing competition with them. And from my personal experience, I took all of the knowledge and all of the tools in terms of financial analysis that I learned from doing that project, looking at ROI, net margin, all the various metrics that go into evaluating a company, how strong it is financially, and the value of the stock. And I used all of that knowledge to invest my own money. So immediately within like a 2-month span of getting my feet wet, investing, fake money, I took all of my real money that I earned from my job and invested every single penny. And so like that is the first example for me of what I've taken from this class and immediately applied to my real life. And I intend to do the same thing with all of the tools I learned from Ironwood in terms of buying real estate when I go to college and starting my real estate investment journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. Flory?
Yeah, I think that in general, you can say that you learn the mindset of how to not give up, of how to continue with your idea, with your dreams, with your goals. And I just got really motivated to start my own thing, to keep going, and I know that I can do it easily. And then those things like we learn about the financials, especially at the hotel Ironwood project, where that was my job. I took care of the financials, and I had no clue about anything of whatsoever. And I went from 0 to 100 about the basics of the hotel financials. So I'm just taking all of that with me. Investment, the same thing. Then in Toolkit, we did a project on marketing, on digital marketing, which is really big. And I feel like, especially there, I've taken a lot. And yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Flory. A question coming through from the Q&A. How important is it for entrepreneurs to build a strong network of mentors and supporters, and how can they go about doing this? So Chad, maybe if you want to start this, and then Matthew or Flory, if you have anything to add on this.
I think it's super important. I think entrepreneurs are creatives, and they need to bounce their creative ideas off others. They need people that they trust to bounce their ideas off of. And we really do try to build that network here. So all of these professionals that you've heard us interacting with, Matthew and Flory can call them at any time for advice. We're going to close out the year with a big networking event where we have a big party and we invite all of the professionals that we've engaged with through the years and just sort of say thanks. And you know, we're creating LinkedIn accounts. And so they'll link to all of those professionals along the way too. And then of course, people call me, our alums call me all the time as well. I want nothing more for them to succeed. So I think it's super, super important. The idea of sort of the lonely entrepreneur just sitting at their desk, I think that's fiction.
Yeah. I've been wondering why I'm getting so many LinkedIn requests from students. That makes a lot of sense now. Let's see, Matthew and Flory, I'll direct this one to you. How much of this class is kind of student driven? Like what are you guys kind of leading or doing, and how much of this is like Mr. Stacy saying you should do this, or you know, that kind of thing. So if you can just touch on that.
I'll start with that by talking about the toolkit class. So for example, with the kombucha project, they gave us, so the big project was called Make Your Own Kombucha. Then we had complete freedom, whether that was choosing the name, design the logos, this and that. They gave us an idea of on what program we could design the logos, and that was kind of it. And then the same thing with working in the Earwig Cafe. Like Mr. Stacy said, you can experiment with different flavors of milkshakes, with different, what do we want to offer as food choices? Do we want chicken wings or whatever? So we do have a say, a big say. We say, we decide, and they just approve. The teachers just approve.
Yeah. Thank you, Flory. Matthew, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the structure of at least the investing class, in my experience, is Mr. Stacy comes to us with a project, gives us a few guidelines, like with Ironwood, find a hotel in the Western United States between 30 and 80 units, under $5 million, and we're going to present in 3 weeks to these two alumni, and basically splits us off into groups and lets us run with it until the big day.
Yeah.
So today, just for an example, today they rebranded the name of our online store. And I just stood up at a whiteboard. They shouted out some names. We threw them on the whiteboard. We voted. So we try to make it as student-centric as possible. The only time we really need to put in structure is when, like, okay, we need to find somebody to make kombucha, right? like how do we do that?
Yeah. Chad, I think this next question is probably best answered by you, just because it needs some historical context. But what, you know, we've heard about the kombucha, we've heard about the Ironwood projects. Those are projects you've done this year. Can you talk about some other things, maybe historically, that the Jorgensen's entrepreneurs have done? Just what some of those have looked like.
Yeah, some of our favorites. One of the early partnerships that we did was with a company called Reed's Incorporated. And Reed's makes a sort of ginger ale, a sort of healthier version of ginger ale with really, really strong ginger kick to it. It's one of my favorite drinks. So when I was looking to set up a project, I called the CEO, Chris Reed, and said, hey, would you like to give us a factory tour and let us do a marketing project with you? And he said, sure. So we drove down to LA. We got a factory tour. We put the hairnets on and the little sock things on, and you walk through and you saw the assembly line and everything working. And then the kids presented their marketing pitch, and they were about a third of the way into the pitch, and Chris just stopped them. He said, stop. And the kids are like, whoa, what is going on? And he said, I'll be right back. And he came back with his whole leadership team, and he sat everybody down. He said, start over. Everybody needs to hear this. And so, you know, we leave that place, we get loaded up in the van, and Chris brings a forklift out filled with drinks and snacks and stuff. And we just like take case after case after case of ginger beer and whatever, root beer. It was just amazing. And then the whole drive home, it's like you won the Super Bowl. I mean, kids are blasting the music and they're so excited. And so that's a top one. Mike, we also did a project of teenage dresses with Windsor. Some of you might have heard of the dress company Windsor. We did a marketing project with them recently. That was excellent. And then just to prove that you can make a project out of almost anything, we challenged ourselves and we made a project out of a Filipino snack, which is fried salmon skins. And the product was called salted egg fish skins. And we told the kids that they could name it, rename it, do anything they wanted with it. And when they presented to the CEO of the company, the first one we put in the pipeline was called Sea Bacon.
Thank you, Chad. Question, Matthew, I'll point this one to you. It is based on what, and Flory also after Matthew, based on what you guys have learned in this class, what do you feel like the most important steps are for someone who's just starting out maybe as an entrepreneur?
The most important steps. I mean, I think Flory, why don't you take this one first?
All right, so I'd say you have an idea, you just go through with it. You don't stop. You have this drive and you do whatever it takes to make your dream come true or your idea come true. And you are probably gonna get to some problems, but those problems lead you directly to your goal, just maybe in another way that you expected it. But it leads you to your goal and you learn, and maybe your product changes through those mistakes, or your vision changes through those mistakes. You learn more about your customers. What do they really want? You learn more about the product, this and that. So I think you have a lot of drive. You just go through with it, and it gave us all that motivation. You can do it, just do it.
I would say the first major step is completely and utterly engrossing yourself in an environment and learning as much as you can about what the demands are for a certain product, where there are inadequacies, where there is space to create something that people would want. And doing that and engrossing yourself in an environment and learning as much as you can about where there are gaps is the first step, just learning. That is really what it comes down to. And then from there, you can start product design and customer development from there.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll do a couple more questions here. One is, I'm going to point this one to Chad. Talking about business competitions, when that's the question that came in, kind of what opportunities and things like that. My mind goes right to the Shark Tank kind of competitions that you guys do. But if you can talk a little bit to that question, Chad, and then, yeah, if anyone else has anything to add on.
Sure. I would say this is an area where we're really differentiated from other schools that might be doing entrepreneurship. So a lot of schools will do entrepreneurship as sort of a club, and they'll engage in a club competition. And that might be all they do. Maybe it's a Saturday pull-out class. I just showed you a 4-year curriculum with 7 classes. And so this is really, really deep what we do here. Of course we do competitions, but it's so much deeper than that here at Dunn. So the competitions that we currently do, Matthew mentioned the one sponsored by Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. So that's an investing competition. It had over 5,000 entrants in it. And if you make it to the finalists, you get to go to Philadelphia and present at University of Pennsylvania. So we really put our heart and soul into that. We didn't make it to the finalists, but that's one competition. Mike McKee mentioned the Shark Tank. So that is something that we do here on campus. I'm also exploring doing that broader than campus next year. So getting involved in a national competition with a Shark Tank style competition. And then there's also a hackathon, which is a new thing that we're trying, but it's media focused because we're in around the Los Angeles area. So we want to focus where our regional strengths are. And we've got some members of our board and other friends of the school that are really in the media space. And they're going to judge work that students have done in creating a quick video to market a certain product, media related. So those are the kind of ways that we sort of compete externally. But once again, I think our real differentiator is in the fact that we're doing real businesses and real projects.
Thank you, Chad. The last question I have here is whether Matthew or Flory attended Dunn specifically for the entrepreneurship program. I don't believe either of you did. I think you were looking at Dunn for other reasons. Matthew, you were much younger and maybe didn't even know about the program. Flory, coming from Austria, it seems like you came and found out about the program and just kind of dove totally into it. Is that correct for both of you?
I mean, I joined Dunn when I was 12 years old in 7th grade, so I don't think I was thinking too much about entrepreneurship at that point, but I'm very happy that I get to study it now.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think that is our time. Those are all the questions that we had come through tonight. Thank you to both the students and Chad for joining this. This has been wonderful information. Hopefully those of you on the call got something out of this and feel like you know more about the Jurgensen Entrepreneurship Program here at the Dunn School. Please feel free to reach out to myself, Amanda Milholland, Chad Stacy, or if you'd like to connect with our students here, we can provide you with their email addresses as well. But one final thank you for everyone for joining us today. Have a good night, have a good day, wherever you are. We'll see you soon. Take care.